right now, as it stands in 2024, what would you say are like the three kind of worst steroids that you still see used pretty prevalently, and then maybe the three most efficacious?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we'll go compounds, because then, it doesn't have to be just anabolics, but you could say like even growth hormone should be a top three, or maybe it's
Mm.
not, because like long-term effects of growth hormone, especially in higher dosing. So maybe your worst three when it comes to bodybuilding specifically, like let's say risk to reward ratio, what you're getting versus what you're probably receiving in terms of side effects, and then like the holy grail gold standard top three, you know, payoff versus risk or downside, either peptides or androgens. You can kind of take your pick there.
Top three. So I would say top of the list of shit people should avoid is DNP. I think it's a horrible compound. I think if you need DNP to get yourself lean, then you got no genetics and no work ethic. And I understand that there's something to say for running a low dose of DNP throughout the entire contest prep of 50 milligrams per day to kind of improve, energy expenditure. But there's so many different compounds you can look into that doesn't cause so much oxidative stress and brain fog and water retention. I mean, even a low dose DNP causes enough water retention for you to lose your mind during prep, because you're like, man, I'm still fat, and you keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and then before you know it, the DNP is starting to eat into your muscle tissue because it's non-selective on what it burns. I think there's a place for thyroid medication if you're using a replacement dose. I think that's totally fine. At 25 micrograms, when blood work shows that thyroid-stimulating hormone is going up and total and free T3 and T4 levels are kind of coming down, and you've done everything you can with selenium and iodine and whatever else, iron, to kind of offset and improve your metabolism. I think there's nothing wrong with thyroid medication or this new GS1 salbutamol, which interacts with the thyroid receptors. But DNP, just end-state stupidity. I think it's number one on the would not use drug list. Second one, I would say, is dihydroboldenone. It's a dihydrometabolite of boldenone. There's 2 studies on it. Some people absolutely love dihydroboldenone, but it appears to have just terrible effects on your health on the studies. So it might increase liver weight. It might increase your liver enzymes. I don't know. I don't know why people use it, but some people swear by it. I think it's just probably the last steroid you would look into if you want to build size.
Is it a more size, like a bulking steroid or cutting steroid?
It's people say it's a more potent version of boldenone, whereas with boldenone, people say that you need to run an effective dose of 600, 900, 1200 milligrams to get an effect, which I always laugh about. It just means that you're a shitty bodybuilder if you need that much boldenone. And then they would run maybe 150 milligrams dihydroboldenone instead and get phenomenal results. But there's 2 studies on it. Trembolone has 800 studies. So if you want to run something, run Tren. No human studies, though. So I prepared for a deep dive for Trembolone, right? I read all 800 studies. 680 of those were on animals, and the other ones were about environmental pollution, because Trembolone is used so much in feed efficiency for cattle that the cattle pee and poop the Trembolone metabolites into the soil, and then it leaks into the groundwater, and then the fish in that area, they all get, mutations.
Trendfish.
Trendfish, yeah, exactly. Yeah, literally like the ones you would see in The Simpsons.
You want to go fishing?
Yeah, so Trembolone is an environmental pollutant. So there's 100 studies on Trembolone as an endocrine disruptor and environmental pollutant. But dihydroboldenone, 2 studies. People still like to use it, though. So this is compound number 2 that I don't understand why people take it. And then you have FTTP, which is an adipose tissue destroyer, to put it simply. So you inject that into the lower back, and it literally melts your fat cells. Sounds appealing, right? Yeah, imagine if it goes systemic. It goes right into your kidneys and it melts your kidneys.
Yeah, that sounds absolutely...
This is what I suspect happened to Boston Lloyd, because he was really abusing the FTTP to lose fat locally. And then, of course, some of that goes systemic, just like with TB500 or BPC157 or any other peptide that you inject. Eventually it goes systemic. Some of it is metabolized in the bloodstream or on the surface of cells. And then some of it ends up in the kidneys. Now, TB500, BBC157, and growth hormone, it's reasonably benign when it ends up in the kidneys. But FTTP, adipotide, that literally dissolves tissue. So yeah, that is also something I would avoid.
That sounds absolutely terrifying, and I would definitely never delve into that.
And imagine there's guys out there that take all three at the same time.
Where do you feel like, as like in proximity to those, some of like the other kind of harsh compounds we hear about, let's say like methyltren?
Oh yeah, but that's not really used though. I never I do so many consultations, and I never hear guys say, "Yeah, I'm taking methyltren or Mitochondrial, right? Check drops for the bitches in heat." It's such a potent thing that it literally offsets, the menstrual cycle of dogs. I never hear people take that stuff. So, but I still hear people take DNP and DHB and FTTP. So this is why it's on top of my list. But yeah, methyltren, I don't see a reason to run it. I don't see a reason to run check drops. Superdrol has its place. Anadrol has its place. Even Dianabol and Turinabol have their place. Halotestin has its place. Anavar, 100%. I mean, it's my favorite oral. If you're going to go for an oral, then Anavar is the one. I'm using it right now, 10 milligrams per day.
Yeah, no, I totally. There you go.
Good stuff.
Let's get into the gold standard. If you were like, hey, if I could only, I mean, maybe not if I could only do 3, because like you said, like you have all these concoctions you like to run, so that'd be hard for you to kind of wrap your head around. Yeah. But I just say, like, let's say top 3 safest, most efficacious for bodybuilding purposes, building muscle and like keeping yourself, or like, lean tissue, getting leaner, without like with lower side effects, let's say.
I'm going to have to split it up though. I'm going to give you 3 steroids, 3 peptides, and 3 ancillaries. Is that okay?
Okay.
Yeah. So I have 9 options. 9.
Let's get them all.
So the steroids, I would say Test, Primo, and Anavar. Testosterone is the base, the identical male hormone, Primobolan on top for muscle building, estrogen management, and just provide additional synergy with the testosterone. It's a DHT derivative. It's not hair safe, but it's still, compared to all of the other injectables out there, after testosterone, it's the best injectable. And then Anavar is hands down the best oral steroid. I wish there was an injectable version of it, but apparently nobody felt the incentive to produce one. So if you can only choose 3 steroids, Test, Primo, Anavar. That will be my go-to. And I think you can develop an amazing physique in those 3. Maybe not enough to compete at the highest level. You probably need some mastrone and some winstrol, maybe some halotestin and superdrol at the end. But if you want to develop a respectable physique, Test, Primobolan, Anavar, that's where it's at. I love it. I think everybody can develop a respectable physique with those 3. Peptides-wise, bioidentical growth hormone, insulin, and IGF-1. Nice and easy. The dosages are very individual, right? I mean, we hear guys get great results off 2 IUs of growth hormone and others need 10. So it depends on your individual risk tolerance. Same as with the insulin. Some guys can get great results of 5 IUs insulin once or twice per day. Other guys need 80 units of long-acting insulin. Oh, yeah. You want to talk about pro level? That's 80 units of Lantus, baby.
That's insane.
That's and
is that like a whole pen or like a third of a pen a day?
Yeah, it's about a third of a pen. Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, that's very wild. So you have to twist it like the top is like almost this, and then you go all the way in. You have a little bubble of insulin right in the subcutaneous space. And IGF-1, Increlex is getting more available. I have some in the fridge. It's a recombinant IGF-1. It's not IGF-1 LR3. It's not IGF-1 DES. It's not mechanical growth factor. It's recombinant IGF-1, bioidentical to what the human body produces. It's amazing.
When do you take that? Do you take that pre-workout or before bed?
So I take that pre-workout. I take the growth hormone before bed. So the Increlex, the IGF-1 is about 250 micrograms bilaterally. So 500 micrograms in total. So if I train chest, yes, it would be an intramuscular injection into the chest. About an hour before, let that saturate, and you do your pump up, and then chest just literally fills up with nutrients because it improves nutrient partitioning and increases insulin sensitivity. So if you have your intra-workout nutrition in place, high branch cyclic dextrins, essential amino acids, proper electrolyte balance, maybe some creatine. Man.
I feel like you're just thinking about it right now.
Yeah, I was just thinking about my workout last Monday. Now it's and same with quads and same with other body parts that you use it on. It's for me, it's so potent that I only use it on weaker body parts. So I only use it on chest and legs because I don't need it for back, I don't need it for arms, don't need it for shoulders. I think it's the best way to sustain your weaker body parts during the cut and improve them dramatically during the off season. So instead of going to 5 grams of gear, you just use 1 gram of gear and then use the peptides on top of that to really facilitate the anabolism. And it will be growth hormone, insulin, and IGF-1. There's nothing better than that, man. The healing peptides are great, but you use them circumstantially. And then regarding the ancillaries, I think it's mostly about mitochondrial function because we put ourselves under so much oxidative stress from the training and the steroids and the nutrition. I mean, there's a lot of scientific evidence. Feel free to post a citation down below. I'll send it after we're done. There's a lot of scientific evidence that shows that training on steroids increases oxidative stress the most. You can take your vitamin C, you can take your ubiquinol, you can take taurine, right? It's all very potent antioxidants, but it would be better to improve your mitochondrial health and focus on the injectable antioxidant to really enhance that process. Because when the mitochondria are happy, you produce so much ATP that all your metabolic functions are upregulated. So you would take something like MOTS-C. It's a peptide, right? It's a peptide that the mitochondria secrete, and the surrounding tissue now provides nutrients for the mitochondria. So it's basically a signal that the mitochondria send to your body, feed us. So you can enhance that to feed the mitochondria more, helps with fat loss, helps with energy production, helps with overall cognition. And now your mitochondria are happy, and you produce less reactive oxygen species. And you can do the same thing with SLUPP332. I just made an entire deep dive on my YouTube channel. A very great compound for mitochondrial biogenesis. So now you have more mitochondria present in your body, more ATP, more energy levels. You talk a lot faster also, as you can notice. It's 1 o'clock in the morning, still cognitive. It's great.
There you go.
And then the last thing I would look into is, undecided between injectable glutathione or NAD+. Yeah, if I have to boil it down to like all the ancillaries for mitochondrial function and mitigating oxidative stress, it would be MOTS-C, SLUPP332, and injectable glutathione, or NAD+, or maybe methylene blue. It's a bit hard. Maybe methylene blue because it's cheap and it's oral. Let's do methylene blue.
Oh, glutathione. That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, because glutathione is just an antioxidant, but methylene blue is an antioxidant and it improves energy levels and it also improves mitochondrial function. So you get like a triple whammy.
I'm wondering why Transcend or some of these other compounding pharmacies aren't offering, because I've never heard of it.
Yeah, it's recently.
I've heard you talk about it, but I've never heard of it being available to me, somebody like me.
It's reasonably new, and don't worry. Eventually, as more people start talking about it, we'll create an artificial demand, and then SLUPP332, MOTS-C, and methylene blue, and NAD+ and glutathione will all be available through the compounding pharmacies. Unfortunately, in the US, what was it? Article 503A and B, where they started limiting the prescription of peptides and other kinds of compounds through telemedicine and anti-aging clinics. So you guys have a little bit of the short end of the stick, but maybe with the elections that can change. I'm praying for you guys. I can get anything I want. But yeah, methylene blue is reasonably new in the fitness space, but it's been used in the biohacking and nootropic space quite a bit because it enhances brain function and cognition. And it was very popular during the pandemic because it makes you breathe a lot easier. So you feel very oxygenated. And that enhances your cognition as well. So yeah, I think that stack, out of everything that springs to mind that I have to select and measure against each other, I would say MOTS-C, SLUPP332, and methylene blue. Yeah, but if you can add some more stuff, then be my guest.
Well, thank you so much, Steve. You're a legend. You guys, if you are not following his YouTube, his Instagram, he provides a lot of information. I'm going to link it in the description below. If you want to be in your best health, build a ton of muscle, stack cash, get a ton of bitches, he is the guy for you. Probably -3 and 4, but if you want to do 1 and 2, go to his page and you'll be jacked and tan and
bald.
probably broke.
Yeah,
but
broke and bald. Yeah, well, that's not the end of
yeah,
the world.
exactly. But yeah, thanks so much, man.
Thanks so
And
much for
you
having me.
guys are missing out on a lot of amazing information if you're not following his page. So I'll link that below in the description.
Thanks so much for having me, man. This was a great discussion. It's always good to talk to you.